Philippine Mining Club and the Philippine Infrastructure and Construction Club are professional networking forums bringing industries together and creating opportunities for the Philippine mining and infrastructure and construction industries. Networking is about giving, not taking. It is about forming trust and helping one another toward mutual goals, regularly engaging with your contacts, and finding opportunities to strengthen relationships. Networking is a great opportunity to exchange best practice knowledge, learn about the business techniques of your peers, and stay abreast of the latest industry developments. Opportunities like partnerships, invitations to events, introductions, and giving talks and presentations bring challenges that benefit and feed your career, professional development, and personal interests. Gaining the advice of experienced peers is an important benefit of networking.
This is our business. It's where commitment is born. A personal stake in everything we do. Innovation and technical expertise at our core. Responsibility deeply felt. We are relentless, curious, trailblazing, transforming with purpose, helping communities connect, and people thrive, globally, locally, with energy, water, and urbanization made sustainable for generations to come. Because your community is our community, your challenge is our challenge, and your world is our world. GHD, the power of commitment.
Good afternoon to our PICC members and our marketing partners and our other friends that have joined us today. Welcome to the 5th PICC webinar. My name's Kevin and I hope that you all have an enjoyable and informative time with us today. Just before I get going, I'd like to mention and thank our valued marketing partners for without these companies' assistances, the webinar would not be possible. So our supporting partners are Atty Geophysical, Cruz Marcelo and Tenafrancia Law Firm, First Metro Securities, Ollie Consulting Group. Our founding partner is Site Skills Training. Site Skills Training offers international recruitment and a workforce solutions to companies in the mining and processing, oil and gas, and the construction industries. Our principal partners, GHD. GHD has a permanent presence in the Philippines since 1998. With over 600 professional staff spread across 3 cities in the Philippines. Their main office is in Makati, and the 2 branches now in Cebu City and Quezon City. Focused on creating lasting community benefit, GHD leverages on its connected global network of 10,000 employees to provide engineering and environmental management services to key players in the energy and resources sectors. Prime BMD offers to their clients services for major infrastructure projects throughout the Philippines and Southeast Asia. Expertise, experience and resources are applied across the industry sectors of transport, water, port, resources and the energy sector. We would also like to mention some people we're affiliated with, and that is the Philippine Mining Club. and the Lighthouse Club of Manila, a very worthy charity group. We'll tell you more about them in later events. Our media partner, the Philippine Resources Construction Journal, and the Manila Times. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to hand you over to Mr. Ian Lewis, who will say a few words about today's Emcee and take you through today's journey. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day, please.
Thank you, Kevin. Ladies and gentlemen, may I say a few words about our Emcee today, Attorney Roderick Salazar. Attorney Roderick R.C. Salazar III, or D, as he's called by friends, is a senior partner at Fortune, Navasa and Salazar, better known as FNS. With 34 years' experience, Dicky specialises in corporate and commercial law, M&A, projects, mining, energy, natural resources law, arbitration, and real estate and construction. Dicky is ranked as a leading lawyer in the Philippines by several legal dictionaries. Dicky teaches corporate and civil law at the University of the Philippines and San Beda College, Alabang School of Law. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now hand you over to our Emcee, Attorney Roderick Dicky Salazar III.
Thank you, Ian, for the kind introduction. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and may I also welcome you to today's 5th Philippine Infrastructure and Construction Club webinar. Before I proceed with our first speaker, I wish to highlight the following. We will be issuing certificates of attendance to the attendees, and you can request a copy from Ms. Joanne Falcotella at the email address joanne@picc.com.ph. For your questions addressed to our speaker, please type them in the Q&A or chat box beneath the screen. Please indicate to whom you're directing the questions. I will then read them out to our speakers after all presentations during the Q&A session. We will hold the Q&A after all speakers have made their presentations. And we would like to request everyone in the panel to please put your mics on mute at all times except when it is your turn to speak. This is to avoid the unnecessary noise in the background. We now go to our Stockwatch speaker. Mr. Sandy Gilles is a financial analyst working to educate clients of the stockbroker firm First Metro Securities. He used to teach finance in college for undergraduates and for Masters of Business Administration students. Ladies and gentlemen, I now present to you our Stockwatch speaker, Sandy Gilles. Sandy?
Thank you, Attorney. I trust you can hear me now. This is the Stockwatch about Engineering Equipment Inc., or EEI, for the Philippine Infrastructure and Construction Club. The company was founded April 1931, and it was listed on the stock exchange July 1975. When you say listed, it means that the shares which are outstanding get to be listed on the stock exchange so that people can buy and sell it. This means that in the beginning, the company starts with an authorized number of shares, and then some of them are subscribed depending on how often the company says, I need money now. And then when some shares are fully paid, they are issued and outstanding. And then among those outstanding, they get listed on the stock exchange so that they can be bought or sold. And then usually the first shares to be offered usually are common shares. In the beginning, the owner of the company is just the majority shareholder and a few fellow directors. And if they want to raise money from a few people, it's called the private placement. Later on, as in the case of EEI, they sold shares to the general public using an initial public offering. And from that point on, it's listed. After that, if you need additional share capital, you can continue to sell shares, usually at a higher price now, and it's called a follow-on offering. The shares have done well, and since 1986, I measured that the share price has gone up an average of 5% per year, from 1 peso per share to recently 6, but it also reached highs of 14 pesos per share. I note that EEI is gearing up for more mega projects after it issued some preferred shares at a follow-on offering. It simply means a follow-on offering is after the first ever. Then all share offerings after that are nicknamed follow-on offerings. And it's usually a good idea if the company is subscribing for the sake of expanding its business, buying new equipment, investing in its line of work. And that's what happened with the preferred shares of EEI recently. It was a very successful launch, and many people wanted to buy more than the available shares that could be sold. So just to go back one step, if a company wants to sell shares, it's usually common or preferred shares, and that's usually more difficult to do than borrowing. In borrowing, you just simply have to convince a bank that you can meet the interest payments and the principal payments, and there's no ownership of shares involved. With selling shares, you tend to share decision making with the new common shareholders. So if somebody buys your common shares, it means that he becomes a part owner in the business, and he receives a vote in the decisions of the board. Should we put up another factory? Should we expand to the Middle East? Should we go into a new line of business? And if you own common shares, you can vote in those decisions. You can also, there's a better way of going about it. You can buy the preferred shares, in which case, yes, you no longer participate in the decisions, but at least you'll get a promised 6% per year. And that was the recent follow-on offering of EEI. They sold preferred shares, meaning whoever buys those preferred shares gets a promised either 5.7 or 6.3% per year, depending on how many preferred shares that he bought. Then the more he will get in terms of cash dividends. So again, a preferred share is always the first to get cash dividends, and the common shares is usually the last to receive cash dividends. And the only incentive to own the common shares is because the price moves up and down. And if you're fortunate, the company share price moves up if the profits are also moving up. Now, so usually the preferred share is someone, the owner approaching someone to ask, may I borrow 100 million? And the friend will ask, you will pay me what interest rate? The owner would say, I will promise to pay you 6% a year. And then the friend of the owner will say, okay, here is 100 million. And you are preferred in the sense that you are the first to get cash dividends before anyone else gets paid. So how to invest in a preferred share? You simply have to shell out 100 pesos, and then you will receive approximately 6 pesos per year. And when you sell the share later on, you will also sell it at 100 pesos per share, approximately. The share price tends to fluctuate to 105, 95, 105, 95. The price stays there 100 all the time. When it comes to common shares, you buy it at the stock exchange. For example, you might shell out 100 pesos for a particular stock. And then that share price might be moving up and down, or in the case of a good company, then the price moves up from 1 peso to 6 pesos over time, as in the case of PEI. So again, just to review, if you are selling shares to a few investors only, you would call that a private placement. The moment you wish to sell to the general public, you call that the initial public offering. By that time, the purchase of the sale of the shares of the company is open to all. Everyone may benefit from its prosperity. And then succeeding rounds of selling shares are called the follow-on offering. Recently, EEI raised 6 billion additional capital. It was a follow-on offering at 100 pesos each of 60 million preferred shares. And that was the 6 billion. They promised to pay cash dividends of 5.7 in one case and 6.9% in the other case. So that's very good returns for any investor, way higher than any time deposits, or even higher than the government bonds, which are very safe. The share price, again, these are the common shares, and they went up from 1 peso to 2, reached up to 14. It's currently resting around 6. But I perceive that it's poised to move up, hoping that the fortunes of the company will improve after there's more mobility in the economy. So thank you very much for your kind attention. If you have any more questions about InvestMed, you can ask me later. I appreciate your kind attention. Let's now move on to the main event, EEI.
Thank you, Sandy, for that very informative stock market presentation. You know, I always look forward to your talks in these webinars, as you make it easier for your audience to appreciate how the stock market works and how a particular listed company's shares perform. And I might just invite you to lecture to my law students as well on this topic one of these days. Huh? Thank you. So let us now go, ladies and gentlemen, to our keynote speaker for today. And please allow me to say a few words about our speaker today, Mr. Roberto Bobby Jose Castillo, who is the president and the CEO of EEI Corporation. EEI Corporation is a 90-year-old company which provides construction services in the Philippines, the Middle East, Africa, and Asia-Pacific countries. EEI's over 19,000 personnel are involved in the construction of residential, office, and institutional buildings, infrastructure projects, industrial plants, power plants, and process plants for the mining, oil, gas, and petrochemical industries. Among the EEI subsidiaries, which Mr. Castillo oversees, are Equipment Engineers Incorporated, which engages in the supply and marketing of a broad range of construction systems and equipment. EEI Construction and Marine Incorporated, which engages in the structural fabrication works and light steel construction works for storage tanks and pressure vessels. EEI Power Corporation, which engages in power generation, electromechanical services, and retail electricity supply. We also have JP Systems Asia Incorporated, the provider of scaffolding and shoring services, and Al Rushaid Construction Company Limited, which is EEI's joint venture company with Al Rushaid Petroleum Investment Company in Saudi Arabia. There is also EEI Realty Corporation, which engages in the development of land, housing, and other properties. Then you have Gulf Asia International Corporation, a manpower supply company, and Biotech JP, which manufactures rice products using Japanese patented technology. EEI shares, as discussed earlier by Sandy, are traded in the Philippine stock market. It is a member of the Yuchenko Group of Companies, an insurance and bank-based conglomerate. Ladies and gentlemen, let us sit back and listen to and watch our main speaker for today, Mr. Bobby Castillo, who will speak on the topic sustainability in construction. Bobby, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Gilles, we're seeing the other side of the presentation with the notes.
I am very honored to be here to speak before this organization. I would like to really thank Attorney Dicky for such an exhaustive description of EEI. It's almost half of my presentation. EEI is now going to celebrate its 91st anniversary come April 17, 2022. We have been in the business of construction for quite a number of decades now. And I'd like to describe to you some of the things that we do. First of all, I'd like to show you an airport, an airstrip that we lengthened. This is the Caticlan airstrip, the airport of Caticlan near Boracay, which used to be a very short runway that only small aircraft could land, and you'd have to fly to Calibo if you need to, if you want to take a big plane, which offers lower airfares. But now we have expanded this to 2.5 kilometers. I lengthened this to 2.5 kilometers, and the apron is now larger, and the new terminal can be built there in due course. The next project that I would like to show you among our infrastructure facilities that we built is the MRT-7. This is a metro rail system that can, this is a mass rail system that can carry passengers from Trinoma to San Ildefonso, Bulacan. San Jose del Monte, sorry. That's about 23 kilometers from the common station in North EDSA. The Skyway is the next project. This is a project that helps relieve the traffic on EDSA. It used to take me 2 to 3 hours to get to the NLEX entry point from Alabang. It now takes me about 40 minutes to do that. This has been completed from Balintawak all the way to this extended portion in the Sukat Alabang extended portion that goes down near Susana Heights. I'm showing you these things because these are infrastructure projects that help reduce the wasteful energy that we spend on the road and on flying. The bigger jets are more efficient, and the railroads carry more passengers on a per car basis. We also build warehouses. This is sorry. This is berth number 6, which we built in the International Container Port together with Hanjin. We also do warehouses. This is a recent 2 warehouses that we constructed in Silangan for SM. There are the floor area of one building is 4 hectares. The other is 2 hectares. This is a petroleum production facility in Saudi Arabia. This was damaged by an aerial attack. We don't know who attacked it, but we were called in to fix it. And this facility provides one half of the output of Saudi Arabia for distribution throughout the world. Our people who were about to, 900 of our people who were about to take a vacation during the time of this attack, we were requested to keep them in Saudi instead of coming home for Christmas. And they worked in this facility and got it back into production in about 2.5 months. We also built some civil structures in Saudi Arabia. This is an example of a recently constructed facility for the Neom Hospital in the northwest side of Saudi Arabia. It's not a very big hospital, but it's comparably large compared to Philippine hospitals. The next photo shows you something that we do in Batangas. We have a steel fabrication yard in Bawan, Batangas, where we do modules. Modules meaning we assemble parts of, in this case, this is a part of a power plant. that was destined to go to Maizuru in the Kansai area of Japan. There were other modules that we assembled in this facility that went to Okinawa. The client here is really Mitsubishi Heavy Industry, working for building a power plant in Japan for Tokyo Electric Power. And one of the recent power plants we completed in the Philippines is the Fibidec in Misamis Oriental. This is owned by Philinvest Development Corporation. These are 3 150 megawatt power units, and this is we did this together with the Chinese. So we have a total of 405 megawatts in this facility. The next one that is shown here is this is the San Gabriel combined cycle plant. It's a power plant in Batangas that is using gas as a fuel from the gas from the Malampaya gas field. This is 475 megawatts. We also do at any given time we construct about 20 buildings in Manila, Cebu, Davao. This particular building, I'm very proud to say that this is an iconic looking building, but it has more to brag about inside. Inside, they use VFR air conditioning system, and the unitized curtain wall is double glazed with argon trapped in between the double panes to keep the environment inside the building stable and to reduce the energy needed to cool the building. The other thing that which is not very well known, this was designed by Gensler and IDEA, but the structural engineers are Thornton and Tomasetti. They did a performance-based design on the structurals of this building, and my project managers tell me that for an equivalent type of building which would normally have been designed under the normal code, we would have spent less, what do you call this, the steel. The steel that went into this building was 30% less than the conventional design building. As you can see, the steel, and I will talk about this later, steel is a very high carbon emission product to produce. Next up is this is the Bohol Panglao Airport. This is we did this together with Mitsubishi and Chiyoda for DOTR. This is the first eco-friendly airport in the Philippines, which is dubbed as the Green Gateway to the World. You can see the solar panels on top of the roof of the terminal building. And the height of the floor to ceiling height of this facility is high enough to allow natural sunlight to come in and for fresh air to flow through the facility. The passenger arrival area is not air conditioned. It is ventilated with natural air because passengers incoming do not spend too much time in the terminal. They go through, they pick up their luggage, and they leave. For the waiting area for the departing passengers, that's where the air conditioning has been installed, and the air conditioning is powered by the solar panels on top of the roof. At the far end of the photo is a wastewater facility, a reprocessing facility, and it's protected by geotextile to keep the environment around the airport clean. As I've told you, we've been building a lot of power plants in the past. And we had a bit of a remorse of conscience for building too many coal-fired power plants that we engaged in the building of a solar farm. This one is in Nabas. Sorry. This is a wind farm in Nabas. Go back, please. This is a wind farm in Nabas. This is 36 megawatts of wind power. The first one that we built was in the north in Ilocos, where we built an 81 megawatt wind farm. We invested 20% into this company, which is called Petro Wind, and together with some foreign companies and another local company. Next up is the solar farm that we built, that we own in Tarlac. This is in Luisita. This is a 70 megawatt solar farm. We're very happy that we invested, we own half of this solar farm together with Petro Energy. We're quite happy with expanding this if we were given the opportunity to do so. The next renewable energy facility that we built that I would like to talk about is Maibarara Geothermal Power Plant. This one is, we did an EPC here. We designed, engineered, and we bought the equipment and we set this up. This is at the foothills of Mount Makiling, right beside the Greenfield Golf Course. This was for 20 megawatts. They have increased this now to by 12 megawatts to 32 megawatts. Then in about 2011, I was traveling in Tagum in Davao. And when I walked into one of the malls, it was really dark inside the mall. There was no power. And the complaints of the community were very, there was a lot of complaints. The mayor talked to me and I said, okay, maybe I'll do something about this. So we put up a 15 megawatt diesel fired power plant. This is the fastest way to solve the problem. And we got it up and running. But then after a while, the big power plant, like the FDC power plant in Misamis Oriental that we built already kicked in, and this became a peaking plant. And we have sold this since because we decided to go clean on the energy production. The pandemic hit in 2020. There was a big furor about flattening the curve. And we thought that the way we would help out would be to increase the capacity of the local hospitals. And so what we did was we deployed our temporary facilities that we use in our job sites. And we loaned this to about 8 hospitals throughout Luzon, from Ilocos down to Santa Rosa in Laguna. Those, the picture on the upper left-hand of the slide is the rib of the facility that we tried to deploy as quickly as we could. And the next picture below it, you will see how it looks when it's finished. It's fully air-conditioned and it's very clean inside. The lowermost picture is the facility that were used as an operating theater and for people who got COVID that needed very serious medical intervention. On the right side is the inauguration of the facility that we did for Quezon, I think Quezon Institute. And the one below is a tent in the PICC, which was converted by us into a COVID facility. During that time, we had people with us. When the COVID pandemic hit and the lockdown was declared, over 9,000 of our people were stuck in our job sites. And luckily for them, we had barracks because we house people in our facilities to keep them from traveling every day. So we kept them in the job sites because there was no transportation. They couldn't go back to their provinces. Many of our workers are out-of-towners, and that's the reason why we have facilities like this. And for people who could not go home, we fed them, we housed them, and we paid them their salaries. Even it was a very difficult thing for us to do financially. It was a disaster for us. In 2020, we lost 2 billion pesos because we decided to pay the salaries of our people even if there was no production. And during the time that we were allowed to do production, we kept them at the job sites and we had to feed them. But the trouble is, every time there's a breakthrough infection, our job site would be locked down by the local government to try to contain the virus within the facility and try to eradicate it there. So you can see that there are disinfection works that are being done daily, and the people are checked for any symptoms as often as possible, and we do testing. We noticed during that time, before the ECQ, we couldn't see something beyond the number of kilometers. But during the ECQ, from the same standpoint, we noticed that there was some clarity in the atmosphere. We could see the foothills of Marikina from where we stood in this photograph. The sky became blue. And this is the photo, an eerie photo of Makati, where there are no cars on the road. This is Ayala Avenue, and there's not one car on the road here. But notably, look at the sky. It's blue. But that time, during the height of the lockdown, you can see that this is the graph of the movement of our economy. The economy dipped at that time by almost 17%. That's 16.9%. And the entire year resulted in a negative 8.3% performance of our economy. 9.5 for the full year. During this period of the lockdown, we asked our people to work at home. To work from home because we didn't want the spread of the disease in our headquarters. And to do this, during that time when we were not doing a lot of productive work, we quickly digitalized our operations. We implemented a lot of new digital apps. We adopted them, one of which, when we were allowed to start work at our job sites, we were able to have eyes on, we had visual contact with the facilities through the rollout of this open space, where photographs are taken regularly by a guy who wears a camera on his hat, and the camera takes 360-degree photos of where he's at. And we are able to compare the photos with the progress photos with our plans. The plans have been digitized before the pandemic hit, and we really rolled out the digitization of our plans, particularly in the use of the building information modeling. It's very useful, and now we have been able to integrate our building information modeling with our P6 Primavera, and our people are finding this very useful in the review of the projects, the progress, and also for the planning, including the resource provisions. We also have aerial eyes by using drones equipped with cameras, so that instead of us driving through and doing a physical inspection of a facility like this, the Skyway. This is the Balintawak segment of the Skyway that goes over EDSA. We fly our drones regularly to supervise the work of our people. And of course, as we are doing now, we are meeting virtually. Virtual meetings and celebrations have been the way to go for the past 2 years. We even celebrated our Christmas parties and retirement parties and welcome parties through Zoom. I've never attended so many events in front of my computer without having to leave my home. The other thing that we did, or we benefited from because of the lockdown, or the travel was restricted. Our foreign consultants and specialists who were supposed to fly in could not fly in because of travel restrictions. So we bought these smart glasses. I think that this is the Moverio brand that was shown in the photo worn by our guy. And he is being guided by a guy in Italy who sees what he's doing and can talk him into what wires to install and where. And this has been very useful for us because we are now equipping our people with these eyeglasses, these smart glasses, and we can ask them to walk through the job site and look at specific things that we want to look at on a real-time basis. Even our QC and safety officers are now able to see multiple job sites in a single day. So the dividend that we saw during the time that our people have stayed in our job sites, and we reduced the number of movements. The only thing that we moved were materials that were delivered to the job sites from the sources and from our shop to the job sites. And we figured that our more than 19,000 personnel were able to save a lot on transportation, and the carbon emissions were reduced. So the important benefit that we found using digital systems, where the guy on the left is at home or in an office in the field, and the guy on the right is actually on the job site doing the work. And we keep them communicating with each other to give plans and directions to keep people safe and to keep the work very efficient. The thing that we can benefit a lot from are the things that we put in the buildings or the other structures that we put up. We use a lot of cement and steel in our construction. And we think that we can reduce the amount of CO2 that cement production and steel production entail. We were told that about 8% of the world's carbon dioxide emissions come from the production of cement, and about 9% come from the production of steel. We think that we can, together with the planners and the owners of the buildings, can institute value engineering work and collaborate closely and share the pool of knowledge that we have, as was done in the Finance Center building, where the structural engineers really did a good job of trying to reduce the amount of steel and concrete that we had to put in that building. The owners are now open to the idea of trying to save up, because the price of steel has gone up tremendously because of what's going on in Europe, and the amount of energy that we spend on installing this and mixing the concrete and pouring the concrete at the site can be reduced if we are able to do some better plans and designs. I understand that there are now new design techniques that are being employed by architects and structural engineers that enable them to iterate very quickly. The plans of a high-rise building can be changed within 1 minute, and a series of iterations to improve the efficiency of the building can be done quite easily. Last December 23, 2021, pretty close to Christmas, we raised 6 billion pesos by floating our preferred shares, as was described by the earlier speaker. The reason why we did this was we were not so sure as to what was going to happen in the future. And we needed to have some buffer for any eventuality. On the other hand, we also needed to increase our contracting capacity, as there are really large infrastructure projects that are looming in the horizon, which will have to be done as our population continues to grow and demands more help by way of better infrastructure facilities. So we also, as I said during the speech I gave in the stock exchange last December, we will use part of the funds that we raised to buy better equipment. We're looking at electric powered heavy equipment now, and these are now available in the market. We would like to be able to use these kinds of heavy equipment to protect the environment. The other thing that we're looking at are power sources in the areas where there is no baseload power, where we construct facilities in the remote areas. This is we usually use diesel-powered generators. This is a facility that is being developed by Siemens, and we're looking at it because this can produce 250 kVA at 400 volts. This is very useful for us if we are constructing, say, a power plant or a petrochemical plant in anywhere. Instead of using diesel-fired power plants, our camps and even our welding equipment can be hooked up to this power source. It uses hydrogen. This particular baby uses hydrogen, and it has batteries, so that if there are problems with the hydrogen power production, the batteries can kick in until the system is repaired. So these are things that we're looking at, and there are more. And we would like to invite everybody to try to look at this new thing so that we can protect the environment. My friends, I would like you to look at this picture and the sky, and I would like to say that the sky can be blue again without having to go into ECQ and suffer a 17% drop in our GDP. We are heading towards a very difficult phase in our environment, a fight to protect the environment. And there are those who say that in 12 years, the planet is no longer going to be livable if we do not do something about it today. The Philippines is a very small country. We are not highly industrialized. We produce about 0.02% of the total CO2 emission globally. But we have to do our share. We cannot just say that, oh, anyway, we're just a small player and we don't really pollute as much as the others. Everybody has to put in his share if we want to continue living in this planet. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.
Thank you, Bobby, for this very interesting presentation where you detailed the various projects that EEI has completed in the past and what you see to be your projects in the future. I found quite admirable your story about how your company also dealt with and is dealing with the challenges of the pandemic and how you also help government and the Philippine society deal with it. The digitalization of your operations is indeed very innovative and of a cutting-edge technology. And your conscious contribution to the reduction of carbon dioxide emissions in the construction projects that you are involved in is a best practice that should be emulated, I think, by the industry. And I think truly your discussion today presented a rich story of sustainability of a strong and dynamic construction company that has withstood the times of its 9-decade history. And EEI has indeed and truly changed the Philippine landscape with its numerous projects over the years, not only in infrastructure, but also industrial projects, as you have shown in your slideshow, property development, and renewable energy. And it shows that there is indeed engineering excellence and innovation practices that your company adheres to. At this point, let me ask the first question, if I may, and relating to the environment and sustainability, perhaps, how does or how much of a consideration does EEI place on the environmental and sustainability aspect of projects that you bid for or accept as a project?
Well, it's a matter of principle. What we try to do is to integrate sustainability into our activities. And we would like to try to veer away from fossil fuel projects, but we cannot totally disregard that because this is a very big, it's 30% of our revenues come from Saudi Arabia, which is really a petrol-based economy. But the thing that they're doing there now is that they're getting into gas, which is less pollutive. And believe me, they're doing solar in a big way in Saudi. So in the Philippines, we try not to get involved in bidding for coal-fired projects. And I think many of the companies here have refused to do any more coal-fired projects. I believe we are trying to bid for one that's being converted into a combined cycle plant. And then we're willing to wait to see that this is a better power plant.
Thank you, Bobby. That's very gratifying to know. And perhaps related to this question also is a question from our audience. And the question is, what materials do you use in lieu of cement, concrete, and steel? This is a question from Aaron Ronquillo.
Actually, we don't have much choice right now with the way the world is going. What we need to do is to reduce the amount of cement and steel that we're putting into the structure by getting into a more leading edge design of structures, which is really possible. I got wind of this when I was reading an article about the way the airline industry, the aircraft manufacturers are designing their superstructures of their aircraft, particularly those that are supporting the mainframes. And I found out that they were using artificial intelligence to design the supports. And it's the AI also that the AI designed structures are printed, 3D printed. It's the AI that does this. It's not human beings. So you come up with a structure that is double the strength, but half the weight in terms of materials. So we could try to do this, and planes go up in the air, and our buildings just stay on the ground. We can do better than just a 50% reduction and doubling the strength by being smarter in the design, being more creative about the kinds of materials that are used. We are eagerly awaiting the use of this carbon derivative. It's not yet in commercial production, but it will come into production given what's going on with the price of steel. There will be more of materials that are coming out of laboratories in the US, in Japan, in Korea, and other parts of the world that will be rolled out to be substitute for materials that are that damage the environment when they are produced.
Thank you. Indeed, the development in technology that would allow your industry to deal with the challenges to the environment would indeed be something that we should look forward to in coming years. Another question, I don't know if you mentioned this in your slideshow, but it comes from Jesse Balboa, and he would like to request you to have whether if you have an update on your NSCR project with Acciona. Is that something that EEI is involved with?
Yes, we are involved in the package 4 of the Malolos-Clark railway package. There are things that I'm not willing to say in a public forum like this, because we're having some difficulties with the enactment of the General Appropriations Act for 2022. As you know, the budget of the DOTR has been slashed radically, so we worry about getting paid.
I see. Thank you. Indeed. Go ahead.
No, I only could say as much.
Okay. Yeah, I realize the challenges of publicly speaking about your relationship with government, and perhaps I also again related to that question is this question from Heathcliff Lanas, and he asks what the real development of the project CP101 is at the moment and your participation in particular.
CP101, you're referring to the subway?
That's right. I think the Mega Manila subway.
Yes, we're quite heavily involved in that. We are participant. We are part of the consortium that's putting it up, and we are a major subcontractor in the consortium. We are going to have a walkthrough on Tuesday with Secretary Togade, because there's the tunnel boring machines are going to be launched in April. So we are already doing the diaphragm walls for some of the stations. We're digging the ground and doing the diaphragm walls. I cannot say more about the project.
Thank you. We have a question from Joey Aison. He's the president of the Philippine Mineral and Exploration Association, and he asks whether EEI would bid for mining projects, considering that initially these projects will be producing GHG. We grew out of the mining industry. We used to be part of Benguet Corporation, and we started out as a mill equipment provider, and we cannot run away from that history. So in terms of trying to bid for mining projects, miners they're not dirty people. They are quite responsible. We can pick the projects that are going to be responsibly built. And I know some of the projects here, like where I think Brad Norman's here. They are very decent miners. They do their work very well, and they keep the environment very well. And the GHG is more because of the equipment that are being used. But now there are electric equipments, and there are the big lorries that move this ore from the open pits to the delivery points. To the mills. There are really some of these babies are electric. You know? They don't spew out any bad gases into the environment. That's quite true, Bobby. I can only agree with you, being involved in the mining industry as well. And I thank you for that endorsement of the industry too. And we have another question, and this is from Pedro Moreno. And he says that EEI has been building through its long history, including energy projects. And he asked whether you have considered owning or operating power plants, especially renewable energy, instead of just building them?
Oh, we are owners of the Nabas wind farm. We are part owners. We have a 20% interest in that wind farm, and we'd like to build our own. We would like to expand that and increase our equity position. The solar farm, the 70 megawatt solar farm in Tarlac is 49% owned by us. And we would like to expand that to about as much as 180 if they would allow us to do that. The other thing that we are doing is we're bidding for other renewable energy projects in the north and in the south. So this is something that we would like to do. Apart from protecting the environment, I'm telling you, it's not a bad investment.
True, that's very true. And I think you referred to in your presentation the follow-on offering of preferred shares, and this was discussed also by Sandy Gilles earlier. And may I know what percentage of this fundraising would EEI be devoting to environment-friendly ventures, and what those environment-centered projects would be?
We have allotted close to about 900 million to acquire better equipment. Our heavy equipment fleet is now aging, and they've been overused. So we would like to refleet, but use better equipment that are more electric based than using internal combustion engines. If we could buy converted engines, which now can use hydrogen, we'd like to look at those.
Thank you. And one of our audience, Ray Anticristo, is asking about how frequent you give your dividends to your shareholders. We used to give regular dividends until we lost money in 2020 because of the downturn in the economy. We were impeded from doing the production that we had to do, so we had to carry the overheads. And we are a public company. We lost 2 billion pesos at the time, and we have had to. Our shareholders gave up the dividends. They agreed to suspend the dividend payments until we get out of the woods. But the preferred shares, now that we floated, we are required to pay the dividends for those. And so it's my job to see to it that the production numbers of EEI go up way beyond what it was for the past 2 years. Thank you. I recall that in 2015, I think, the government issued the Philippine Green Building Code, which is a referral code of the National Building Code of the Philippines. May we know the extent of compliance that you see in the construction industry with respect to this code?
There are more and more buildings that want to go green. The owners are now telling us that they want to go green because their buildings will command a premium in the market because it's being classified as a gold LEED or gold or a platinum LEED or Verde. Verde has its own classifications. But we are quite happy to see this. When we are painting a particular room in a building and we are not allowed to use varnish because of the VOC emissions that they give, we're quite happy because it also saves the lungs of our workers.
Yeah, it is indeed a very welcome piece of administrative legislation. No?
Yes.
And, true. I also saw among your slides your reference to the Skyway project, and perhaps in relation to this, may we know what the extent of participation of EEI in the government's Build project and program?
We have been involved in the Skyway project and the MRT even before the build mantra has been put forth by the Duterte government, because this has been started prior to his administration. But we're quite happy to be part of the MCRP4 and the Package 5 in Clark. These are part of what the government is trying to push for. And the subway, of course, we're quite big in the build game.
Thank you. How do you foresee the construction projects in the country, perhaps in the coming years, with with an impending change in government and administration?
I'm not worried about the change in administration, as it might cause some kind of a hiatus in the process because of the change of the players. But it has to continue, as I told you in my talk, that the Philippine population keeps growing, and eventually I'm hoping that the economy will improve and the per capita income will grow, and as people become more, when they have money, they are more demanding of better infrastructure. The trouble that I see is what's going on internationally, where there's turmoil in Russia and the possible turmoil here in Asia, with China trying to flex its muscle like Putin does. That can put a lot of pressure on the economic situation of many countries. And as we are not really producing a lot of what we use in our country, we can suffer hyperinflation with stagnant growth. That's going to be terrible for everybody. And this is something that we have to brace for and try to put on our thinking caps on how to deal with the issues, because we are normally schooled in economics that are developed in the West. And I would like to believe that people who care for one another can try to come up with a new method of living our lives and trying to do business with one another.
That's very inspiring, Bobby. Thank you. Well, you also referred to certain projects that you do joint ventures with foreign companies. So I suppose in relation to this, there was a recent decision of the Supreme Court holding unconstitutional the rules of the Philippine Construction Accreditation Board, that only 60-40 companies are to be Filipino-owned companies are to be accredited by them. I wonder what the attitude is of EEI as well as the construction industry that you are part of towards the participation of foreign construction companies in the Philippine construction scene.
You know, when we do work in the Middle East and in North Africa, we are the foreigners there. And I am, you know, I don't believe in trying to reserve the right to do construction work for Filipinos only in the Philippines, or 60% Filipino companies. We need to bring in a lot of these foreign companies, allow them to work freely, because they will bring up the skill levels, the technology levels that are employed in the local construction industry. We have learned a lot from our foreign engagements, because we deal with the big guys, and we learn how to bid against them. We also learn how to work with them, and this is something that we should welcome in the country, because the local capital of a company like us is limited. It is for that reason that we are in partnership with Acciona for package 4 of MCRP, and with the three Japanese companies for the subway, because one, we do not have the size. Two, we do not have the technology to do it. But the way we will learn is we play ball with these guys. And the way these projects are awarded, if you ain't got the size, you ain't gonna get it.
It's very true, Bobby, and I am so pleased with the open attitude that you in EEI have towards the role of foreign construction companies, and that you see that competition indeed brings out the best in you and in the Filipinos as well. And we have one question from Frank Thiel, I think, from the American Chamber of Commerce. And of course, he thanks you for the presentation and asks what the role of EEI is in the San Gabriel CCGT project, whether you were the EPC, and also whether EEI would consider taking an EPC wrap role on a large CCGT project in the future.
You know, this combined cycle plant was it's a Siemens plant. It was really Siemens who we worked under Siemens as a subcontractor. We assembled the turbines and the piping work that goes with it, and also the balance of the plant. We are not very confident about being an EPC in a combined cycle plant. We did it for Maybarara. I'll be very honest with you. We got burned. No, but we're still alive. But
okay.
The lessons we learned from these engagements give us a lot of learning, and it improves the quality of our people. And give me a call. We can talk about it.
Okay. Yeah. So Frank, you've heard that straight from Bobby. And I suppose that the 90-year history of EEI, your occasional losses or challenges have indeed been overcome anyway. I don't see any other questions in the question and answer chat box, but indeed the discussion with you, Bobby, and your presentation has been very enlightening, very insightful, and interesting and educational. And so with that, let me thank the audience and you, Bobby, for your presentation. And I turn you over to Ian. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Dicky. Well done. And Mr. Castillo, excellent talk, excellent. I really appreciate and understand your desire for sustainability and working with the environment. Two very important issues that we all should take note of. So thank you very much. And also your support team for making today a really special event. And from the SCC side, Joanne and Job, thank you for your support. I'd like to point out that we had 307 registered participants for today, which is very, very high. If you then add to that the fact that we will be screening on Facebook, and those people who did not attend the live webinar will follow up on the Facebook. So the numbers basically doubled. For those people who are interested in getting a certificate of attendance to today's webinar, you can request a copy from Miss Joanne Felsu-Letala. Her email address is joanne@picc.com.ph. I'll repeat that, joanne@picc.com.ph. Now, before we close, may I remind everybody of some upcoming webinars that we have. The first one is from the Philippine Mining Club. It will be held on the 25th of March, and it'll be a presentation from S&P Global Market Intelligence. The topic and speaker are to be announced, but we will be putting that out on the website and sending to people who request it. The second webinar is a Philippine Infrastructure and Construction Club webinar on the 29th of April. The presenter will be Ian Fraser, who is the CEO for Asia Pacific with GHD. Our third webinar, scheduled for the 27th of May, will be a Philippine Mining Club webinar. This will be presented by Celsius Resources, a relatively new player in the Philippine mining industry, and we look forward to that upcoming webinar. Thank you all for being here today and for your continued support of the Philippine Infrastructure and Construction Club. By the way, I say freely that if you wish to join either the Philippine Mining Club or the Philippine Infrastructure and Construction Club, or both, if you wish, you can do so by obtaining the information from our website. And also for those people who would like to do some marketing on during our webinars, and with the Second Chance, we look forward to contacting us on info@secondchanceevents.com.